40% podcast. I'm 40% podcast. You know I'm 40% podcast, baby. You know I'm 40% podcast. You know I'm 40% podcast, baby. I'm only 40%. Go. 40% podcast. I'm 40% podcast. Hello, everyone. I'm Jinkx Monsoon, and welcome to a brand new episode of I'm 40% Podcast. As always, my little shit of a co-host is here, really douching it up, just doing all the things you can possibly think of to get my goat. You got a little goat sound there?
Interesting if true.
Okay, close enough. And today we are joined by our first repeat offender. This is our first time having a guest, the gender offender. This is our first time having a guest on for a second time, partially because he's such a good friend to us and partially because he requested this episode specifically. So please welcome back to I'm 40% Podcast, Guy Branum.
Honored to be the first return guest. I had no idea. I'm so excited.
Yeah, we've never had anyone return any phone calls after we recorded with them. Usually it's a hit it and quit it situation here at I'm 40% Podcast. So not much has changed. I'm the producer. Nick has...
allegedly.
Nick has been putting a lot of effort into this soundboard thing. We're still waiting to see some returns.
Guy, there's
on
actually
that
been
investment.
a lot of changes. Nicole Byer beat me up and she put me in a cryogenic tube. It was cool that she came to my house, but she did beat me up, which I didn't care for. And I was frozen for many months, and now I'm thawed, and we're in a sort of eternal battle to determine who is producer of the podcast. Is any of this surprising to you?
I mean, I personally am shocked. You know, when I think of I'm 40% Podcast, I think Jinkx Monsoon talent. I think Nick Sahoya, piratical maid of all work. And, you know, like this switch in roles, I mean, it's like a Margaret Atwood novel, you know? Which of the sisters is backstabbing the most?
I'd say it's more of a Twilight situation. Like, do you want to go with the glittery, beautiful vampire or the person who smells like a wet dog most of the time?
I will say I'm exactly
situation.
I'm exactly as Native American as Taylor Lautner, so this does track.
And I'm exactly as white as a vampire, so...
Should we start a podcast where we just find out what happened to poor Taylor Lautner? I just feel like he's in a cubbyhole.
No, don't go looking into that. He's doing just fine.
Be
quiet.
It's
like imagine.
No. He's somewhere in Bryan Singer's home, and he's just forgotten him behind some like Christmas decorations or something.
Well, he was, I think the last thing I saw him in, not that I watched the movie, but he was in one of the Adam Sandler straight-to-Netflix movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he was also playing Native American in that because he got pigeonholed. But you know, Rob Schneider was in Brownface, so it was just a fun movie all around.
Yeah, how come Rob Schneider keeps doing Brownface and that doesn't
he's a
seem
quarter
to be an
Filipino.
issue? Oh. Well,
and he has a Mexican wife, so it's all cool.
I've just been feeling, when did Jennifer Aniston hitch her wagon to the Adam Sandler whatever?
Just go with it.
Just go with it. Which
they just did another one where they're like they get caught up in espionage. It's coming out or it just came out. I kind of want to watch it just to see.
Yeah.
Do
what
you
they're
realize
up to.
that Just Go With It is a remake of Goldie Hawn's Academy Award-winning performance, and Jennifer Aniston is playing the Ingrid Bergman role? Like, Adam Sandler has Jennifer Aniston as our Ingrid Bergman.
I feel wary to even talk about Just Go With It because I watched it once on cable TV in the UK for some reason. And I watched this movie, and then I took to Twitter afterward, basically to say, I don't know how this movie got made. I don't know who thought it was a good idea. Some of the most baffling performances in it, just an all-around bad movie. And this is before I kind of just realized that straight men are still writing terrible movies. I just don't normally watch them. Anyway, I kind of went off, and someone was really mad at me and told me, how could you put down all the hours and money spent on this film? They probably were doing their best. And I was like, I can't even criticize an Adam Sandler flick without getting
really
called
punching
out,
down there, Mom.
as if I'm being super insensitive to the heart and emotions of Adam Sandler and Jennifer Aniston, and I think that's when I stopped engaging with Twitter. It was before Trump even. It was this person reading me about my fucking criticism of the movie Just Go With It, which, I'm sorry, is a terrible film.
Well, I mean, Just Go With It being your January 6th does not shock me, Jinkx.
Guy, you were gracious enough to do one of our very early episodes. It was episode 4 or 5. You were very gracious enough to do it, even though that was not your requested episode. You wanted to do this episode specifically. I mean, before we get into the beats of it, tell us what speaks to you about this episode.
Yeah, I'd love to know.
Well, I mean, all Futurama is good, but this is... it's a Hermes-centric episode. I'm excited about that. Like all good episodes of Futurama, I feel like everyone gets a good moment except for Amy. And it's got a musical number, and also I just parodies of bureaucracy are always really charming to me. And there's just a bit of an element of Brazil to this that I liked.
Brazil,
but
to Brazil.
But truly written by sitcom writers who understand how to make all the jokes clean and get it done in a half hour. I love it. There's a good song.
It was a good song.
They criticize bureaucrats and bureaucracy a lot in this show. This is the episode that heavily leans into it, but Hermes is basically there just so that they can make bureaucracy jokes whenever they feel like it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Guy, you were a law student. Is this part of your fondness for bureaucracy as an institution?
Absolutely. I spent a lot of time learning about regulations and caring too much about how they work. So the line, "Don't quote those regulations to me," I co-chaired the committee that reviewed the decision to change the color of the book that they were in. We kept it gray. Is a very, very funny joke to me.
It is a very good joke. I think this is a strongly written episode. It's a very entertaining episode. The only thing that stands out to me as the big problematic elephant in the room is the story about the plot line of sexual coercion and power dynamics in the workplace between Morgan and Fry. But what I want to talk about it is the fact that this is a weird period in time where if you look at some of the entertainment coming out about inappropriate workplace relationships, oftentimes the female or the feminine in the situation is depicted as the predator. We've all heard of this kind of stuff happening, but guess what? This twist is it's the woman doing it. But there's so many examples of that in media at this time that it really felt like they were trying to get ahead of the narrative. It really felt like people were uh-oh, we're going to start getting called out on our inappropriate behavior. We better blame women for it too. That's what it reads as to me. I can't even remember the title of the movie, but there's some movie that came out around the same time about a woman, a girl boss destroying a man's life. And it's how could
disclosure.
This poor disclosure. That's what you were saying that word for? I thought you were just interrupting me with a non sequitur. Okay. Jeez
okay,
Louise,
let's get into the episode. That's plenty of intro. Let's start talking about this wonderful episode. Lots of very funny lines, lots of good moments. We have no cold open this week. And we go into the Chiron. The Chiron says, as foretold by Nostradamus. And this is a really good Chiron. I give it 5 out of 5 Chirons.
Yeah, I'll give it a 5 out of 5 Chirons as well.
Guy, thoughts?
Oh, I'm pro. It's funny, but also like the level of funny that we expected 20 years ago. You know, this is not a Rick and Morty joke. It's just kind of funny.
This is the building blocks for how we get to Rick and Morty someday. Yeah.
Hermes is in his office. He's stamping things. He staples a huge pile of paper and then he shreds it. And he says the cycle of bureaucracy continues. And before we continue, I have to say, I had to pause the episode for like 5 minutes when I was taking notes because I did not know how to spell bureaucracy. I didn't even know where to start. I thought it was maybe B-E-A. Oh, you're wrong already.
B-E-U? No, whatever.
You'll never
bureau
get it.
is
It's
one
impossible.
of those words I never remember how to spell. And
But it's
I remember
different
all
than-
the letters, but in the wrong orders.
Is it the same word as bureau? Like a thing you put stuff in?
Yes. In French, bureau means office, but also like that piece of furniture, like a bureau that you put stuff in.
Bureau.
But it's a morass of vowels. There are just vowels everywhere, and who knows where they go.
Yeah,
It's
the
one of
French
the
are
most
very
French words I've ever
free
seen,
and
yeah.
liberal with their vowel sounds.
Well, the vowels have a really good union in France, so they get to do whatever they want.
They went on strike for most of the 60s.
Hermes receives mail via pneumatic tube. It also took me another 5 minutes to spell pneumatic, but it's a letter from the central bureaucracy saying that he's about to receive a letter from the central bureaucracy. And we have this recurring joke of when he opens the letter, he says, "My God, it's from the central bureaucracy." And we get a few of these jokes throughout the episode.
Yeah. Who could this be from? Right after receiving the notification.
The episode had me at pneumatic tubes. When I was a very small child, when we went to the bank, my mom sent it over with
bank.
a pneumatic tube, and there was one department store in Marysville, the town across the river, that would like send things through pneumatic tube. And just like, what a great old-timey vision of the future. It's just the best.
And the fact that it goes all through the city.
Yeah.
What did they send in the department store? Like little clothes?
Like
They ball them up and stick them in there?
No, like receipts and stuff. Remember, when you finished a check, then it just went up and like got sent to wherever the checks lived.
Yes.
The pneumatic tubes at the bank used to scare me as a kid just because I was traumatized by seeing Augustus Gloop get sucked up into that. Augustus! No! Sorry.
Leela is preparing to have a poker night with her friends from her old job. I think it's pretty weird that she kept in touch with those people. They don't seem like they would be friendly
Leela
with
doesn't
her.
make a lot of friends.
Yeah.
Leela's friendships all seem very circumstantial, so it makes a lot of sense to me that if she wanted to have a poker night, the only people she'd know are previous co-workers.
Can you imagine inviting
she spends
your
all her time with her
former
current
boss?
co-workers.
I mean, that's true. But can you imagine inviting once someone is no longer my boss, they are dead to me. I will never talk to them again unless I need a letter of recommendation.
What I will say I related with hard, and it was confronting to relate to this moment, but Leela inviting her old boss, who then like publicly announces that she hit on him and then he turned it down. And just like casually bringing that up in front of a group of new people. And like, I feel like discretion is an art form.
We've got kind of a problematic Billy West voice here, but we also get the wonderful character who says, "Welcome to the world of tomorrow." Guy, would you like to say "Welcome to the world of tomorrow" like he says it?
I honestly don't remember how he says it. How does he say it?
Jinkx, you want to take this one?
Welcome to the world of tomorrow.
And when he loses at poker later, he goes, "My baby's milk money." Like he just says everything in that intonation.
Yes. So, Billy West has a whole slew of, bad stereotype voices that he does throughout this show, which, is objectively, it's like, what an amazing voice actor who can change his voice in so many different ways. And also,
That's what we wanted for 40 years. What's talent? A racist chameleon. Like, just somebody who can do the first thought version of most ethnicities that have crossed your mind. Why give jobs to lots of people when there could be 4 people you employ to do everything? That's what animation is for.
And that's like the corporate business side to this art form is like, I think most likely why it continued for so long, even though we would never we would never want a white person portraying an Indian person in live action. But because it was cheaper to hire one voice actor to do all the voices, it just kind of went under the rug for a long time. And as much as it pains me, I'm in watching this, I see that Tress MacNeille was not free of and she's like one of my icons, and it's you reconcile the tumultuous times of
I will say,
finding what you're comfortable with in art and media.
Mike Myers played like a terrible South Asian caricature in The Love Guru like 10 years ago, and like I didn't realize this, but I was compiling a list of like gay bait performances in Oscar movies for a podcast I'm doing 3 hours from now. And this is not a gay bait performance. I forgot that Robert Downey Jr. got an Academy Award nomination for blackface for Tropic Thunder not that long ago.
Well, in that movie, the fake trailers at the beginning, he is doing a gay baiting performance, so maybe that's the connection you made in your brain. Because Satan's Alley with Tobey Maguire, and he plays a monk who's in love with another
I forgot
monk.
about that. That's so funny.
And in most of the cases of like recent examples like we're citing, it does feel like it's coming from this place of like white people deciding that they're post-racial, and it's mostly in comedy that we see it. And I think it's like white people thinking like, well, I've done a good job of showing I'm not racist. Everyone will know that this is strictly for comedy and not racially charged when I do this racist stereotype performance, like, as much as I love Tina Fey, like, all of 30 Rock feels like it was written from the stance of being post-racial. And I think what we realize is no white person gets to decide when they are post-racial.
Right.
So, that issue addressed. Let's get on with the poker game. It's very funny. We got X-ray specs. There's lots of jokes going on. Let's get to the jokes.
Bender deals cards by putting the cards in his mouth and shuffling them, and then he shoots them at everybody. And for Fry, they like go into his apple and cut off of his hair, but everyone else seems to be fine. I guess he shot them extra hard at Fry. Maybe he's mad at him.
Bender Bender punches down to Fry a lot. It's a Barton Millhouse setup.
Favorite lines from poker? Mine is, it doesn't matter how many human females you have, Bender's on a hot streak. Because Zoidberg doesn't know what a queen is.
Yeah, and doesn't Bender get found out for pointing out that there's like a parasite in one of the other
because
people?
He has x-ray glasses and he's cheating with them.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to set that up. Bender has x-ray glasses and he's cheating. And he gets called out because he points out that he can see something inside of someone, and that triggers Leela's boss to question why Bender's on such a hot streak. My favorite thing about like them, beating up Bender, and they follow Bender into Hermes' office. Bender's trying to de-escalate the situation and goes straight to, hey, you wouldn't beat up someone wearing x-ray specs, would you? And I just love, they could have built up that joke. Like, they could have beat him up a little, and he could have tried something and then beat him up a little more, and then he could have tried something and then landed it, You wouldn't beat up a guy with X-ray specs. But they trusted their audience to know the trope, and they went right for the hat trick.
I think you skipped over one of my favorite parts where Zoidberg is defending Bender because the mob is chasing him, and he says, "Don't hurt him, he's my best friend." And then Bender pushes him over and runs past him, which I thought was good. That's good, Bender.
Zoidberg's desperateness for friends really plays out a lot in this episode.
I find I like Bender more when he's a bad friend and less when he's like a murdering sociopath, because he oscillates between the two.
Zoidberg always wanting friends and being desperate, great, but also just what bad takes, what consistently wrong perspective takes. He's such a beautiful testament to the outsider's perspective and how bad it is.
Hermes arrives at the office, which was destroyed because Bender got beat up in there, and I guess he was there all night because Hermes gets there in the morning. It's a mess. And I feel like this is extenuating circumstances. I feel like he could be like, hey, my office was attacked. This is not how I keep things usually. But I guess that's not how the central bureaucracy works. They're pretty strict.
No, because, we're going to learn very quickly that, basically any action he takes must be filed and requested and applications are meant to be filled out. So she probably would have been the central bureaucrat coming to interview him probably would have said, "Why didn't you follow a force majeure clause claim?" I don't know.
Let's just take a brief moment to step back and talk about the Holy Roman Empire's Supreme Court. I've read about the Holy Roman Empire Supreme Court, and they talk about cases going on for decades or centuries. And I don't even know what that means, and I don't even know how that works. But in something like this where you are well, he probably would have needed to file the forms to have her not come 7 months before he got the form saying she was coming, is the kind of magic that I love and why I like this episode.
Well, speaking of bureaucrat stuff being funny, Hermes says, the lady from the central bureaucracy will be here in exactly 1 second. And then someone walks in the door and he says, "Who the hell are you?" Which is my favorite kind of joke. And it's Morgan Proctor. She is...
Who's voicing her? Is this Tress?
It's probably Tress.
It sounded like it could be Tress, but I didn't check it. I didn't check. I didn't fact check, but it's probably Tress.
You want me to look?
It's not as important. It's a good vocal performance. The voice matches the illustration of this character. You can tell that she's a little sexy under that bun.
It's worth it to know who it is. It's Nora Dunn.
What are you talking about? Are you for real?
Yes.
I got really excited, but then I forgot who Nora Dunn is. Is she from SNL?
So
she was on SNL during the Silver Age with Phil Hartman and
yes.
Not Victoria Jackson. Who was the other woman who was amazing? Who was on 30 Rock?
Jan Hooks.
Jan Hooks, yes. But Nora Dunn, the woman who famously refused to be on the show when Andrew Dice Clay was there.
Good for her.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
And also kind of an icon who did not take a back seat and kind of has had to work a lot of the time in drama because comedy people, like the girls who play ball, and also she's fucking perfect for this.
I thought the voice sounded really familiar, but I couldn't place it. Normally, when I think that and can't place who it is, I just assume it's Tress MacNeille. So, Thank you so much, Guy, for being this is why you
Research.
Get to be a repeat guest, because you don't take a back seat when it comes to reviewing these Futurama episodes.
They greet each other by stamping, and they say enough friendly banter.
Enough friendly banter.
Are you familiar? Is the stamping a real thing? Is there a lot of stamping you had to do in law school, Guy?
I mean, not for lawyers, but for having things notarized and everything like that, and having things. Oh, I love a good. I have a stamp for my corporations, for checks that come to my corporation, and I love stamping things with it. When I was a child, I would take the stamps that my dad had in the construction job site and pretend I was a bureaucrat.
This is so fascinating.
Childhood.
I've never met someone with this dream. If you would like to know about a guy's time in law school and juggling being a law school student with being an up-and-coming Bay Area stand-up comic, you can read his book, My Life as a Goddess. Or you could listen to the audiobook, which I would recommend because reading's hard.
Thank you for the plug, Nick.
Do you do your own audiobook?
Yes.
It's like a very pleasant 18-hour podcast. Hermes says he has a plan to deal with this disaster, and it cuts to him on the roof ready to jump. And Bender says, do a flip, which does make me laugh.
It does make me laugh. It does.
And what's his name? The professor, the doctor says, don't waste a don't jump. You're wasting a perfectly good liver. Like, that's a good jump that comes back.
Yeah, but later in the episode, he says, jump already. I need your liver. So I feel like by the end of the episode, he's like, I don't care how you die. I just need that liver.
Take it however
even if it's a little squished.
And then La Barbara shows up.
Oh, La Barbara.
Just in time to scream, husband, no! Which I love. I feel like she does that a lot throughout the show.
She does shout husband no quite a bit.
Quite a bit.
And she doesn't say, like, my love. She just says husband.
Which is...
Prefix?
It's because of her recurring husband no that anytime someone screams a name and then no, it tickles me. Like Sebastian screaming, Ariel, no!
Maybe that's where they got it. No! Hermes is shaking because he's been talked down from the roof by the bureaucrat, Nora Dunn. And
Sweet
he says,
something of someplace.
He can't think of one of his folksy sayings. So Zoidberg recommends that he and La Barbara go to a spa planet. And he gets a free bucket of krill for every person he sends there. He doesn't know anything about it. But because Hermes is leaving, Morgan takes over as the bureaucrat of the office.
Yeah, Hermes is leaving on paid leave, which is the biggest insult that they can offer a bureaucrat. Morgan takes over. It's all very
I wish I had a job so I could
clinical.
get asked to leave for a while and still get paid.
Have you considered taking down the police from within, Nick? Just go to the police academy. And then
you could make a bunch of funny sound effects and skate by.
I feel like I'm gonna lose a lot of friends in the short term if I do this, but maybe if I can bring it down from the inside, they'll all forgive me.
Yes.
Well, if we learned one thing from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, it's that all cops are young, hot, and mildly bisexual.
I thought it was really funny in the sort of gap between Brooklyn Nine-Nine being on the air and the Black Lives Matter protests beginning. Someone had a tweet, and I wish I could have credited it properly, but they were like, I really think that when Brooklyn Nine-Nine comes back, it should just be a post office and no one should acknowledge anything has changed.
just instating Mandela effect. Just like, no, it's always been a post office. That's funny. So
I don't even remember the context of this line, but they say that a delivery was late, I guess. It is because Fry got his head stuck in a crater. And Fry says, I thought it would fit.
That's right. Morgan is like quickly cracking the whip. Leela says, what is this, high school? And then Morgan screams, locker check. Now, they find one loose nut in Bender's locker, and he says, sometimes a guy gets lonely. Is that to imply that Bender has a yet to be seen penis that is this small that he uses a nut to masturbate with?
Yes, it is a flesh jack. It is a flesh jack for whatever his genitals are.
The genitals could be inside of his body. There's a bunch of weird stuff in there.
Yeah. I mean,
or maybe it's just the antenna.
We've heard that the antenna is like his penis in the roommate, the moving around episode. So does he take this little nut and screw it on and off of his?
Maybe it feels great to him.
Or multiple penises.
I'm not kink shaming. I just want to understand the mechanics. And personally,
did you ever see that
I thought
video?
Bender would be hung.
Did you ever see that video of that guy with 2 dicks?
I mean, I've seen a video of a guy with 2 dicks.
I think there's only one.
I saw one from the 80s where he had 2 penises, one on top of the other. Yeah.
Mine were sideways.
I remember
that's the more famous one.
I remember when, I've never seen that, but I remember when he came on Reddit and started telling magnificent stories about his powers. Now I just want to see the video.
Yeah, I mean, that was the first thing that I Googled when he went on Reddit. I was like, well, I gotta see this.
I can't remember where, I mean, like, it was a porn. It was like an 80s porn, and a guy had 2 penises, one on top of the other, and one could have been prosthetic. But when everyone started talking about the man with 2 penises, I was like, well, isn't that kind of common? Because I've already seen one different from this man with 2 penises. Well, I mean, it's common enough that there's a couple men with 2 penises. But I can't find much evidence of anyone before the one who is famously known as the man with 2 penises. So I'm wondering what I saw.
I will say,
that
first
80s
of all,
porn. They both got off. Both penises came.
They both can come. I will say, I want to preface this by saying all penises are beautiful. Whatever your dick looks like, that's awesome. But I do think it's fascinating that this man with 2 dicks has 2 beautiful they are gorgeous dicks, and it would have still been interesting if they were sort of average looking dicks, but they're very nice. They're very nicely shaped. I believe they're both circumcised, which is strange to me.
Like, you'd think he'd want to keep one of each.
Well, I would keep both. I would be like, I've already got 2 dicks, you don't need to chop off anything down there.
According to the data I'm seeing, they are uncut.
Oh, they are uncircumcised. Good, because we don't support genital mutilation here. Sorry.
We don't. It just kind of sucked the air out of the room. But we don't.
Do you guys feel... Do you guys feel like to keep a solid Jewish following, you either need to take a strong stand on circumcision or Israel, but not both? Or are you guys,
here's how
are you just saying neither should be partitioned?
Here's how I deal with the circumcision conversation. I kind of opt out of it, being someone who is circumcised and has no strong feelings about it. Like, I don't necessarily feel mutilated, but I also believe in giving every person the choice of what happens to their body, So I have no strong feelings about it personally, other than everyone should have agency over their own genitalia.
One of the great things about...
I have no strong feelings one way or the other.
One of the great things about being gay and not participating in biological reproduction is we don't have to decide on the shape of somebody else's penis. You can just focus on your own.
Yeah.
True.
So the way I feel about it is we shouldn't circumcise babies because we're taking that decision away from that person. And then if that person, for religious reasons, when they come of an age where, they can logically and pragmatically think about this discussion and make a decision for themselves, then they should have the agency to then decide to be circumcised.
What I'm hearing from you, Jinkx, is we need to have more fetish-themed bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs where people decide to have a leather-clad adult moil do the job.
I don't know what the answer is. I just know we shouldn't be making decisions for babies, because I know quite a few people who are very upset with the fact that they were circumcised. I just happen to be someone who's kind of like, whatever. I was circumcised before I have memories of it, and it's the only penis I've ever known.
I had a bisexual Israeli therapist in San Francisco who would not shut up about his circumcision. He would not shut up about it.
During your sessions, you should be billing him.
During my sessions, he was the greatest evangelist of foreskin reclamation on the planet. He had little equipment he would show you. It was a lot.
Fry's locker is gross. It's really gross. There's a hat full of yogurt. because it was milk
It
once.
started out as a hat full of milk, which also raises questions. How did the milk stay in the hat? Why didn't it leak out? What's lining the hat that kept milk in it? But then he says, it started out as milk and, well, time makes fools of us all. I love that as his writing off why there's a cap full of yogurt in his locker.
Morgan is horrified. She asks everyone else to leave so she can be alone with Fry and presumably reprimand him. However, turns out she's so horny for him because he's dirty.
And here lies the moment where I identify with Morgan Proctor probably more than any other Futurama character, because the amount of times I've slept with a boy just because he gave off that grungy crust punk, dirty, I don't pick up my socks and underwear off my bedroom floor vibe. I don't know. I'm an uptight Virgo who likes smelly sex, I guess.
I'll do you one better, Jinkx. I dated a person for 4 years, and he was exactly Morgan, and I was exactly Fry. That was fully our relationship. And 3 years in, we watched this episode together, and we looked over at each other, and we just kind of shrugged and giggled. Because what else can you do?
That's cute and fun. It's less confronting than when Michael and I watched Sunset Boulevard and looked at each other and went, "Uh-oh."
That's really funny.
Guy, thoughts on Gross Gentleman?
Yeah, Guy,
Pro
what
or
floats
anti?
your boat? Or you like a dirty pig boy?
No, I feel like I generally am the dirty pig boy in the relationship.
We see the spa planet. It's
But
not
wait,
really
have
a
you
spa
ever been
planet.
fetishized by an uptight bureaucrat for being a dirty pig boy?
Now that I think about it, though, my only real relationship was with someone who truly was even worse than I was, and I spent a huge amount of time I guess I did to some extent fetishize his pride over those things, and just sort of the raw masculinity of him not giving a shit and letting those two boards in his kitchen rot.
Did you like that he made you feel very neat and tidy? Because I could see an advantage in that.
I mean, he didn't make me feel neat and tidy, but he made me feel like I was constantly struggling to control, and I think that was very appealing. And it also made me feel like I had a giant toddler I was dealing with. Is that inappropriate? Probably.
Welcome to dating, Guy.
Yes.
It's a forced labor camp. It's not a spa planet. We meet an Australian man. He will come back in multiple ways. Mm-hmm. My highlight from the spa planet is someone off camera shoots a laser to get them to focus, and she says, "I don't miss twice campers."
I don't miss twice campers.
I just love it being Crocodile Dundee for no good reason.
Yes.
That's writing. That's writing.
Just for no good reason.
And I don't want to step on the joke, but there is another episode in a season or two where they get enslaved again, and the Australian man is there as well. So it's a running gag that he just keeps being enslaved on alien planets.
Yeah. It also, someone on the writing team, because if you remember the Simpsons episode where they go to Australia, it feels like the Simpsons is equally obsessed with Crocodile Dundee, because anytime they can, they work in an Australian man dressed like Crocodile Dundee, and we get that wonderful piece of writing where he goes, "You call that a knife? This is a knife. That's a spoon. Oh, you've played knifey spoony before." Someone there is obsessed with Crocodile Dundee. And I'm convinced someone in the writing room used to be a bureaucrat, because some of this feels very much like someone's working through something. Hermes can't help but get the slave labor camp running more efficiently because he's just that much of a bureaucrat. He is selling out his fellow slave laborers to maximize efficiency at this camp, which, leads us to the exciting conclusion where Hermes realizes
there's a bunch of stuff in between.
No, it leads us to it.
Morgan demotes everyone but promotes Fry. He gets his own office. And they all go into Fry's new office to talk shit about Morgan. And we get a great twist on, wait, is she behind me? Because Bender's talking shit about Morgan. And Morgan's standing right there and says, no, I'm in front of you.
No, wait, is Morgan standing right behind me? No, I'm standing in front of you. Like,
it's just
he
so
was
funny.
looking straight at her. It's very good writing.
Perfect joke. She goes to Fry's apartment for a sort of 3 a.m. booty call situation. Been there. She must have had to walk by Bender. I didn't think of that until now because Bender lives in the front of the apartment. But
No,
okay.
he's out. She got him. He's working late because she had him clearing the professor's earwax.
Oh, yes.
And that's
now I
why
remember.
Bender shows up with a candle and says, Fry, I made you a candle out of... and catches them boinking.
And he gets caught in a... Oh, it is very funny because Morgan does that thing in every sitcom where they get caught in bed and the woman sort of pulls the sheets up to cover her breasts. And then Fry looks over and is like, well, and does the same thing. It's a visual gag for the podcast. This is why you should watch the video version if you have the option. Guy, did you know you're on video right now?
I did not know.
I feel like I forgot to tell you.
Oh, jeez.
I'll survive.
Yeah, Bender's stuck in a loop.
Because
and he's going to tell everyone.
Yeah, because he's feeling his oats about what he's just discovered. The next day at work, Morgan's trying to de-escalate. She's trying to gaslight Bender into thinking that he's got it mistaken. And I like how he deals with it. He just says, I walked in on you having sex, or what? No, the line's better than that. It's...
I'm going to say, guess who caught Fry and Morgan having sex last night? And they'll say, who, Bender? Who?
But then he says something like, you doing it to you, or something.
Oh, yeah, there's that line too. But you should have written it down.
It's all good writing. I don't like to write things down. I'm more of a holistic episode reviewer. So... Because Bender has made it clear that he is not going to keep their secret, Morgan downloads Bender's brain and shoots it into the pre-established pneumatic tube, whatever, pneumatic tube, and there goes Bender.
But also, what a great way of capturing one of the characters that isn't capturing one of the characters. Being able to steal someone's soul and send it to a big pile is just so great, and why you gotta love the show.
Fry immediately regrets all of his decisions and
he comes
confesses
clean.
He comes clean, confesses everything. He says something like, she was attracted to the filthy slob I am, and I was attracted to and the part of me that was... And she appealed to the part of me that was
desperate.
Gotta
write it down.
I know, but he's saying I appealed to the part of her that gets turned on by slobs.
We get it.
Anyway,
they watch the episode. They
know. They all
all
go to the center of bureaucracy.
No,
where there's
you're
a giant
missing a great line.
Oh
where,
my God! Then lead it.
They say, poor Bender. Without his brain, he's become all quiet and helpful. We have to go back to the central bureaucracy and get his brain back. And everyone goes, yes, yes, yes. And Amy just goes, why?
I mean, I guess Amy did get a good moment. I was wrong. I'm sorry.
It was a good Amy moment, but not enough Amy in this episode. I agree with you, Guy.
They go to the center of bureaucracy. The line's so long. They're behind a super old guy.
So
he
long.
says, I'm still waiting on my birth certificate, which somehow implies that he's been waiting there since he was born.
Yes.
You can't pick this one apart too much, because then why would there be anyone in front of him? Were they also born and waited?
Yeah.
Is he Benjamin Button and he's much younger than he appears? I have a lot of questions.
Well, I mean, he could go to the bureaucracy for his birth certificate at any point in life, but the fact that he's super duper old and waiting for his birth certificate does imply that he's been there for centuries or something. But my favorite part of the joke is when everyone takes a step back because, someone had a baby. So that baby's now in line. That baby is now an individual standing in this line.
That's very funny.
It's very funny. But Leela has a hack. She decides they're going to pretend that they're there delivering a new blank bending unit, which kind of like, if this is the only way Bender is helpful, then why were the robots designed with personalities at all is what I want to know. Because when's the last time you saw Bender bend a girder?
Well, this brings up a question very late in the series. There's the one where Bender has a kid. And the kid can either have a personality or can bend girders, and they choose to have him bend girders. So he becomes a lot like Bender, please insert girder at the end. So maybe it depends on the robot, and Bender just happens to have a slot for personality.
But his personality sure does seem to get in the way of the function that he was built to serve.
I mean, you're not really respecting the extent to which bending girders is a creative process that does require all of these other skills, you know?
This is all part of the process.
I might say, like, a motorized lip-syncing machine would be better at your job than you, Jinkx Monsoon. But others would say you bring subtlety and complexity to it from all the other shit you're bringing to the table.
Wow. Once they automate the drag business, Jinkx is going to be in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, just imagine a sex doll that could also sing. And then you've got me out of work. So they get into the center of bureaucracy. Their plan is, Leela has a really good plan. She puts a tracking device in one of the pneumatic tubes, and she's gonna follow it
with her wristlow jackomator.
And
with her wristlow jackomator.
So many good jokes. You have low-level bureaucrat on extremely slow-moving skiff thing.
My slowmobile.
The slowmobile, yeah.
What you assume is some sort of like Dungeons and Dragons demon that is just an alien who is a mid-level bureaucrat. Great.
Please don't tell anyone I was sleeping.
And then like everyone rushing to get through metal door, and then Bender just walking through metal door. Hilarious.
Really good
It's
stuff.
all very good. I also like that the wristlow jackomator is a piece of technology that she has that can track her little tracking device, but it does so by going cold, hot, 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 hot. Like, all of their technology is both like archaic and super advanced at the same time, which I love about Futurama.
They arrive at Central Filing. All of these fun, silly plots sort of come together in this moment because Hermes has returned from the spa planet, and La Barbara exposits that now all of the work, because of Hermes' bureaucratic prowess, is done by a single Australian man.
What a great joke.
Very good joke. We get the Morgan returns. She's going to put the kibosh on everything. But we also are now joined by the head bureaucrat.
Number 1.0.
Number 1.0.
And he has like a biplane desk.
A flying desk. So wonderful. Like, just the image of what the central bureaucracy is, and like a huge pile of vacuum tube capsules from decades before that have never been filed. Like, it's a big machine that is bad at doing its job, and I love it.
And Hermes is given the ultimatum that he can have his friend's brain back if he's able to sort this master in pile, which is like 2 stories tall, and he only has 4 minutes to do it.
But luckily, he's able to requisition a beat, and he, through the power of steel drums and limbo music, I can't remember.
Who did that beat?
That was
1.0?
It was 1.0. He
Why
placed
would he do that?
some sort of screw gun into the radio on his desk, and that's what came out.
Why would he help him?
I don't know.
Morbid curiosity. He's probably he's just excited for something new coming into his world. But we get a good musical number. Futurama has sparse and sparing musical numbers, but they're always pretty good.
This is one of the better ones.
This is an earworm. This gets stuck in your head. And then it's hard because you hear it playing in your head in Hermes' voice. And when you're singing along with what's playing in your head, you catch yourself doing a Jamaican accent. And you're like, only Phil Lamar gets to do that. So
it's wonderful, like having I am Bender, please insert girder so perfectly work into.
That is my favorite part of the whole fucking song because it's a callback. It fits the pentameter of the song. They probably built that like phrase of the song knowing we got to end up with Bender saying, "I am Bender, please insert girder."
Oh, you don't
musically
think that
it's
the
very
professor,
satisfying.
You don't think the professor had an electric Frankfurter for just normal reasons?
No, Nick. I think that line was written solely so that we could get to Bender saying they started there and worked backwards.
On the subject of a classic animated fugue, has anyone else here spent the last 2 months with "We Don't Talk About Bruno" stuck in their head at all times?
Oh, absolutely. And I was in 2 different Ubers where it was, I think, playing on the radio.
Oh, really?
It's the first time in ages that I've heard like a family movie musical song on the radio.
Like Let It Go.
And it used to be, there was Let It Go. I remember the Can You Feel the Love Tonight used to play on the radio.
But Let It Go makes sense. Like Linda Ronstadt and Aaron Neville makes sense. This weird plot-heavy song with 6 different people in it being something that everyone is listening to doesn't make sense. I don't know that movie is good. I've watched it twice.
I like it.
I cannot get away from that song. I feel like it's fundamentally a defense of codependence, and I'm mad at myself for liking it.
We don't talk about Bruno, but I like the lesbian song the best. Where she's dancing with the donkeys.
Oh, the Strong Sister one?
Yeah.
I mean the lesbian.
They're all lesbians. Mirabelle is also a lesbian. It is a movie about how lesbian ants are important.
Nick, I'm surprised you don't like that song more, seeing as you look exactly like Bruno.
Wow.
You look,
Fuck.
yeah. I mean, you look a lot like a character voiced by John Leguizamo.
You're saying I look like a character who's been living in the walls for 10 years, which is pretty rude.
I mean,
I can't say
7-foot frame and rats along his back.
I can't say that I haven't seen Nick with a rat on his back. Like, it's entirely possible.
Okay, so he sorts the thing.
Well, I was going to say, the whole time I'm watching this song, I'm like, he's wasting quite a bit of time on showmanship. He's doing little dances. He's putting a lot of flair into filing these things, but then he ends up finishing early. Are
you saying that his personality ends up helping him with what should be a mechanical task? I think so.
Wow.
It does.
Levels.
Besides the girder joke, my other favorite joke is when he gets everyone, now everybody say Jamaica, Jamaica, just the bureaucrats, Jamaica, Jamaica, just the grade 19s. Jamaica. She's so angry, but she still does it. I love that, just hearing her voice go, Jamaica. But yes, he finishes early and thus gets demoted because no bureaucrat is ever supposed to finish early.
But then it's revealed that while he was filing, he finds out that Morgan made a small clerical error a decade or 2 before when she was at her high school prom. And he is promoted for noticing it.
It sounds like they have to choose the bureaucrat lifestyle early in life.
Yes.
Like if she was filing requisitions for her prom, then she must have already been on this trajectory, because you don't hear anyone else talk about their prom application.
Okay, I got a question for you, Jinkx.
Yeah.
If we were doing a 1970s Soviet-style program to create the best drag queens in America, the way that they did with, like, your powerlifting and your gymnastics and stuff, when would you select the children? Do you know?
Ooh.
Well, I feel like it has to be during puberty. Earliest.
Much like an X-Man.
I started drag at puberty, and now it is so ingrained in my physical, mental, emotional, spiritual being that, like, there's no way to separate the person from the drag artist. So I think starting at puberty is how you ensure that this person is stuck for life.
Nick, same question, but dirtbag comics. Is that something that you can start before 9 months of community college?
I'm gonna say I ran an open mic in Seattle for many years. It was beloved. And I saw a lot of 20-year-olds come in. So I guess when you're 20, because some of them ended up being funny. Some of them did not, and I still had to put them up. It was hard.
And
it was a hard job.
As someone who trained to be a lawyer and now finds themselves a comedy writer, when did both interests, who started life wanting to be a bureaucrat, ended up studying law and is now writing comedy, what age did the truth start to bubble up?
I think you shouldn't find comedians until later. I think going in the wrong direction until you're 25 is a really great way. It really should be something where you just do what your parents tell you to do, and then a magical creature comes to you when you're 25 and says, "You're so unhappy. You should go do something really irresponsible and not have health care for a while."
When did you start, Guy?
All of these art forms.
24.
Okay.
24 for comedy.
You want people to work on your timeline, which is a good
this
plan.
guy did it right.
It worked out for you.
I'm just gonna say, all of these life paths we're talking about, I feel like are made better by having some trauma and some grit in your life. So it's also relative to the person. I know some 10-year-olds who have lived really hard lives, and I bet they have really funny anecdotes about it.
Okay. So we've already, I'm sorry that I'm making the podcast go too long, but we've already got people who coach children to help them be better with their applications and stuff like that. What if we create a service that safely traumatizes wealthy children so that they have something to make them interesting?
Well,
this is smart.
How do you
maybe
quantify and qualify trauma?
I think you're just you have the parents be like, "Hey, we're going to dinner tonight. You'll be fine by yourself." Not that ever happened to me. And then a guy in a clown mask with a knife runs in there and scares the kid and then leaves, and he thinks he was about to get murdered, but really it was just Uncle Ricky.
Well, it's essentially the Michael Douglas film The Game, but for children.
All I'll say is that Nick and I are a month apart in age. We had pretty much polar opposite upbringings, and yet somehow here we both are sitting on our computers talking about a cartoon that hasn't been on air in 20 years.
But it's coming back.
In any case, Morgan's tragic downfall will be her youthful mistake leads to her undoing. And
we get a great line.
1.0 says, "Guards, bring me the appropriate forms to file to have her taken away." Very good.
It's a great line. I was going to point out, you are technically correct, the best kind of correct, which is a very quotable quote. You can put that into real life all the time.
And even
it might be on the soundboard next week if I remember.
Even though I like, one of the things I like about watching cartoons is that everything goes back to how it was at the end of the episode. So it does kind of trigger my OCD to know that by the end of the episode, Hermes is still one grade behind. I really
because he gets promoted for
he gets
busting
demoted
Morgan.
2 levels and then promoted back only 1. So at the end of the episode, he starts a grade lower. He's a higher number.
That's very weird.
Than he began the episode in. And I would have loved if we found a way for him to get back to where he started or better. But 1 away is an acceptable margin.
What I think is funny is usually I am so bothered by stuff like that. If anything sort of unhappy or denigrating to the overall universe happens. But the fact that he gets downgraded 2 for ending 2 seconds earlier, whatever it is, that made me, the fact that it was a hilarious reason and a very bureaucratic reason made me perfectly fine with him being 1 grade lower. But I understand those feelings, Jinkx Monsoon.
Thank you.
I also don't think the grades come up ever again in any other episode.
Never. And Isn't there an episode where Leela has to work as the acting bureaucrat? There's an episode where Leela takes over being the bureaucrat. She's horrible at the job, but it makes me question why a replacement bureaucrat wasn't sent, since it was such a big plot point in this
Well, it went
episode.
so poorly this time. They couldn't do it again. Going into the credits, Zoidberg says, "Wait, now it's time for my song." And he starts singing a song that sounds kind of like Hermes' song, but it's about a tidal wave in his tide pool or something. And then it goes to credits and he goes, "Aww."
So, I think this is it's a well-written episode. It's a funny episode. Aside from, the usual running problems with the TV shows of this time period, it's a pretty good episode. Guy, when you were last on, we asked you our compulsory questions, and I want to know if any of them have changed.
No, let me do the button.
Sorry. Okay.
Hey, let me ask you something.
Guy, let's see if any of your answers have changed. First question, of course, being, who in the Futurama universe would you do? Did you say Hermes the first time?
Probably, probably not. Kith. I want to understand how that system of bladders works.
Yeah. And he's able to inflate himself, which makes it seem like maybe he's customizable to different
He can climb on the ceiling. Maybe that would come in handy.
Just sticky skin in general.
You could put him in a Spider-Man outfit, and he could fulfill your Spider-Man fetish. Not that nothing.
I'm still looking for that IRL.
I had, during the pandemic, I had an extended correspondence with an Instagram boy. And he was cute and all. We didn't have a lot in common. I feel like it went on an extra month and a half because one of the first photos he sent me was him in a very expensive looking Spider-Man outfit.
And you were just hoping someday you'd get to try on the Spider-Man outfit, or get to see
and he
him
was
in the Spider-Man outfit?
Well, he was like, because it was pre-vaccine, he was like, well, when we finally hook up, you can rip the Spider-Man outfit. And I was like, no. Mary Jane would never do that. No. she would take it off very carefully.
We can't hurt the Spider-Man outfit.
Yeah, I hope he's doing all right.
Enter the Spider-Man. My next compulsory question is, who do you most identify with from the Futurama universe? Again, I can't remember your original answers. That would have been
for this one.
Okay, tell us.
I have to assume it's Zoidberg.
No, you said a certain robot with a funny voice.
Oh, I did?
I believe you did.
Oh, that's silly, but Zoidberg.
So you're not Hedonism Bot, you're Zoidberg now.
Oh, no, Hedonism Bot. I'm sorry, I thought you meant Bender. Hedonism Bot is 100% the correct answer. Hedonism Bot.
Hedonism Bot with a Zoidberg rising.
Yeah, I would like to go back and say that the person I would most like to have sex with is John Babe.
Okay.
Which one's John Babe?
John Babe. He's Hedonism Bop's little,
like attendant, the person who slathers him with chocolate and stuff.
Oh, is he a robot or a human?
He's a human.
Human.
Okay, I don't remember this character. I'm going to look into it.
He's a human who is dressed like he's from the period that Hedonism Bot is fashioned after. So like ancient Greece.
Think he's from.
That he's programmed to think he's from, yes. And final question, will you be watching more Futurama after this? It kind of sounds like you've been brushing up on it because you've been quoting some things like you're trying to do a Futurama podcast.
I hadn't watched it in a while, and I have to tell you, it was really nice, and I missed it. And talking with you guys, like the episode where Zoidberg goes through all of his developmental stages, I want to find and watch. And the one where Fry flowers for Algernons because of his parasites. Like, those are such good episodes.
We know and the third and fourth episode Guy will be appearing on.
Are you going to be watching the new season when it comes out? They're making a new Futurama.
I didn't know that, but I'm very excited for it. Yeah. That'll be great.
There was no new news about it this week, or we would have had the news bumper. Do you want to hear the news bumper?
Yes.
I can't find it. There it is.
Good news, everyone!
See, we've got a lot of
Wonderful.
things going on here. I would say most of the improvements happened while I was producer. It's been kind of a lame duck producer session for Jinkx. I also feel like I had a more creative way of becoming the producer, but now she's the producer. It was kind of lazy.
You lack the will of the producer. I don't know why I have to explain it to you any further than that. It's just kind of like it's base level stuff.
Guy, what do you want to plug? You've got a big stand-up show coming up in LA. This will probably come
Yes.
out after, but let's talk about it anyway.
I have a show on April 29th at Dynasty Typewriter. It's part of the Netflix is a Joke Festival. So if this comes out before that, you should come to that. You should go watch the major motion picture Bros, starring Billy Eichner, coming out September 30th. I am in that movie, and you should look at me.
That Billy Eichner, he's going places, eh?
We'll see.
Well, Guy, thank you for joining us again. You are a true believer in the podcast, and that's more important than anything. We love your support.
Thank you so much for having me. Always a pleasure.
So tidy and matter of fact. Thank you so much for having me. Always a pleasure.
Like a bureaucrat.
This has been another new episode of I'm 40% Podcast. We'll be coming back at ya next Monday, so make sure you're subscribing to us wherever you're listening to us. And follow these people. I'm Jinkx Monsoon, that's Nick Sahoya, and we've got Guy Branum today. So, from this point on, if you don't know what's going on in our lives, that's on you. Have a great rest of your day. Happy Futurama to everyone.
No, we'll workshop it.
And a good enjoy the world of tomorrow. That's a better sign-off line.
That's a little better, yeah.